Welcome to my YouTube channel where I share insights from fields of positive psychology, coaching, meditation, mindfulness, breath work, and my personal journey going from a very anxious rat race caught kind of person into someone who is of course still on the journey, but a much more peaceful and tranquil and calm person. So in this video, I want to talk to you about 3 specific, I don't even know what to call them, whether it's probably not practices, it's more around your mindset and habits and thought patterns that are going to make a really huge difference in helping empower you to live a much more fulfilling, happy, and peaceful life. The first attitude shift that had personally a huge positive impact on my life happened when I learned to stop empowering other people in situations where the power is actually mine. I used to be stuck in the victim role a lot. I often would say or think, I don't want to come to work today, but I have to. Or this person made me do it. Or I didn't really want to do it, but I felt pressured into it. This sort of thinking is so unhelpful. When I learned and realized that, hold on a second, actually, yes, there are lots of life circumstances I can't control, and I need to learn to accept that part of helplessness. I also need to realize that there is so much in my life that I have the power of, that I'm giving away to somebody else. If I don't want to go to work, I don't have to. I actually can choose to stay at home. Yes, I may not like the circumstances that might follow if I choose to do this too many times, or I do this on the days when it is incredibly critical that I am at work, yet it is still my decision. And at the end of the day, if I, for example, decide not to go to work, and I know I've made that decision with full awareness that decision is mine, and I'm willing to take responsibility for whatever was to come, for example, I get fired as a result of it, well, I knew that I made this decision knowing that this is what could happen. And this is an incredibly empowering position. This is when you become a true adult. And it is incredibly freeing, because then I look at it and I say, well, actually, I do very much value that I have my job and I like coming to work. And maybe on a particular day, if I'm not feeling well or something has happened, I know the decision is mine in terms of how I approach it and what I do with it. And in terms of what might be the circumstances and how I am going to resolve the situation. But feeling like this is something that is in my sphere, this is for me to own and decide, is beautiful. This leads to so much more freedom. And when we have freedom and what I like to call agency, there's numerous studies that report that this has a huge, huge impact on how we feel about our life and our life satisfaction. And that's no surprise, right? We know that the biggest punishment for a human being is for our freedom to be taken away. Majority of us are fortunate that we have our freedom, and we need to remember to exercise it. So start paying attention to how you think and what you say. A lot of the times we give the power to those people around us who, first of all, it doesn't belong to them. They also didn't need it and didn't ask for it. And this creates a very unhealthy dynamic. It happens often in personal relationships or romantic relationships as well, when, someone says, well, I didn't want to do it, but my wife or my husband told me I have to, or no, own up to it. No, you don't have to. Yes, maybe you didn't want your partner to be upset, but then again, take responsibility that I made a conscious choice to do this in this situation, even though I maybe have preferred to do something else, but I did it because this relationship is valuable for me, I cherish it, and that's what I wanted to do. Or you say, no, actually, this is where I draw the line, I'm not going to do it, and however the other person reacts, that is up to them. I'm going to do my best to explain to them why I'm acting in this way, yet I can't do anything about their reaction. This is where we truly become the creators of our life. This is what that term actually means for me. That it's not about that we start to control the life, because we can't. As I said about at the beginning, we have to accept that there is so much that's outside of our control. And that also can actually feel quite liberating, because you remove the responsibility from your shoulders that's not yours, but you remember to take the one that is yours. And creating the practice of catching yourself when you start acting, thinking, or talking like someone who is giving that power to somebody or something else is really crucial and beneficial. So, in summary, start focusing on what you think about and what you say, and learn to own and claim your power and your responsibility where it belongs to you, and not to take it where it is not one that's meant for you in that situation. Second mindset shift, and actually a practice that I am still developing. I should say that I'm working on all of the ones I'm sharing with you. In all of my videos, I'm on the journey, and this is why I'm doing this, right? They always say that the best way to learn is to teach. So anyway, coming back to what I was saying, the practice of learning to recognize and notice what my needs and wants are, and then learning to fulfill them where practical in the moment, and put those needs first rather than others, the needs of others. Again, I always feel like I make those disclaimers where practical, where blah, blah, blah. There's always different situations. But in general, what I mean by that here is remembering that, coming back to my first point, I have the freedom and the choice in many situations to fulfill my needs if I notice them and give myself permission to do so. Very small example. Throughout the day, when I'm at work and I have very busy job, lots of meetings, lots of things happening, I now focus on making sure multiple times a day I check in with myself. How do I feel right now? What do I need? What do I want? And those questions are simple. This comes down to, am I thirsty? When was the last time I had something to drink? Am I hungry? Do I need to go for a walk? Do I need to take a 2 to 5 minute breathing break before I get on to the next task? These are super small things, yet I used to be terrible at fulfilling those needs. A lot of the times I would put other people's needs above my own, thinking that that's what I need to do, even when it came to very small situations. For example, I'd have a wall of back-to-back meetings, and then somebody would reach out and say, hey, really need to talk to you about this issue. And even if I'm hungry, even if I haven't been outside, even if I'm really feeling tired, I would still feel like, well, I gotta be there. I gotta say yes to this. And I don't know why I felt that way. And if I said no, I felt guilty. I always felt like I needed to provide an excuse or explain, why is this, I can't attend to this right this moment. Maybe what I'm sharing is silly and nobody else felt that way. Now you're watching this and think, who is this stupid person? I shouldn't be saying this. I always talk about positive self-talk, right? But this is just an example. But it was hard for me. It was hard for me to actually not feel guilty and grant myself permission to be actually thinking, no, I really want to help this person. And in order for me to be at my best, right now, what I really need is get a glass of water, get some fresh air, do a 20-minute walk, Then I'll come back and I can really help them in whatever the situation that has come up. Obviously, sometimes there are crisis situations, all that, when this is not appropriate. But we're not talking about those. For me, this was the reality in my day-to-day. Now, I don't know why I was surprised when I realized that I was permanently anxious, often tired, had all these different kind of quite minor, but again, I was very young, health problems and things like that. But it all starts with very little things. So for me, when it comes down to inviting more happiness and fulfillment in our lives, learning to recognize what our needs and wants are, and remembering that so many of them we can fulfill ourselves. And it is also up to us to make sure that we do it, because we're adults. We are not little kids anymore. Other adults are not responsible for our needs. Other people do not know how we feel. And when we feel stuck, especially people who work for others, which is a lot of us, I often hear people kind of feel quite defeated or disempowered, saying, well, I feel like I have no choice. But remembering that you do, and also in my experience, when we know how to express our needs in a constructive, not defensive, not accusatory way, it is very rare that people react negatively to that. And even if they do, have to remember, point one, that is their thing. This is not something that we can control. Actually, one other thing I do want to add to this point when it comes to those needs, it is not only about the kind of material / physical needs. These are the examples that I used, but remember that you also can be the one who gives yourself a positive pep talk before an important meeting. You may not, it's nice when somebody else does it, but remember, you can do it for yourself as well. You can say, I've got this. I'm going to do a great job. I know I'm capable. You can also be the one who gives yourself some praise after you have done something amazing. So remember that emotionally, whilst of course we're social creatures and connection is something that we all need and crave, and this is not a replacement for that, but remember that actually in many cases we can fulfill our different needs ourselves, and it also is, it's not even that we can, that this is actually our responsibility. This is what we should be doing. Final mindset / attitude that brought a lot of joy and abundance and fulfillment into my life is learning and continuing to practice gratitude. Now, I know gratitude is everywhere and it's kind of this really mainstream thing. I feel like these days it's probably very similar to when people say, oh, I just need to drink lots of water during the day to feel great. It's the same thing. You need to practice gratitude. Yet, I think it's everywhere because it is true. I definitely had much more of a pessimistic / negative person tendencies for a lot of my life. And they do say that about 50% of it is determined genetically and kind of, I guess, something that we don't have control over. And then 10% is our life circumstances, which is what I talked about at the beginning. But 40% is how we approach our life. So when I realized that this whole, like literally half of how I feel about my life depended on me, I felt like this is something that's worthwhile to pursue and think about. And most of us, pretty much everybody who's watching this video, would be blessed in and abundant in at least some ways. The fact that, and the core of it comes from even the fact that we have this life. I know this feels actually, I shouldn't even excuse myself about this. No, I'm gonna own this. I think it is a big thing. Living a life is a huge privilege as far as we all are concerned. Our experience as it is, as we're experiencing right now, will not exist once we are not in it. So for me, my life experience only exists while I exist. So this is already a huge, huge thing to be so grateful for, let alone everything else. So learning to balance the negativity and the kind of, oh, I don't have this, or this didn't work out, or I wish I had that, learning to balance that on a regular basis with everything that you do have in your life, and inviting more gratitude, without a doubt, is going to make a massive, massive difference, which is exactly why I couldn't do a video where I don't bring this up, especially when it comes to empowering yourself for a life with more meaning, fulfillment, and happiness. Thank you so, so much again for watching my videos. This means the world to me. And if you liked what I've got to share, please subscribe, hit like, and I hopefully will see you in my next video.